Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is Wicked Flicks. Today I'm going to be talking about the 1986 big screen adaptation directed by Frank Oz of the musical stage play classic Little Shop of Horrors, one of my all-time favorite movies, and in this case I'm actually going to be talking about the director's cut, which was released I believe in 2012, which faithfully restores the original intended ending for the film, which more closely matched that of its stage play predecessor. And as you can see, it features primarily Rick Moranis in the role of Seymour Krelborn. You have Ellen Greene as Audrey, you have Steve Martin and John Candy in cameos. It also features cameos from the likes of Jim Belushi, Bill Murray. Vincent Gardenia plays the flower shop owner and everything like that. And it circles very much around Rick Moranis' character Seymour Krelborn. One day out of the clear blue sky during a total eclipse of the sun, by the way, he has deposited on his doorstep this strange little, Venus flytrap-like plant, which, because of his love interest being Audrey, he names Audrey too. And as this plant starts to grow, all manner of havoc ensues, leading to bloodshed, murder, sneaking around in dark alleys. Basically Seymour's trying to do whatever he can to protect and save his love interest. As it turns out, Steve Martin plays a very sort of sadomasochist boyfriend of her, and he'll go missing at a point in the film, and such like that. For the longest time, I grew up with the theatrical version, and so I never actually knew until I was in my late teens that this was based on a stage play to begin with. But I also didn't know that apparently when they were showing the film near completion to focus groups back in the 80s, basically they were kind of upset with the more so depressive and some would argue action-packed, macabre even, sort of black comedy ending. They wanted something more happily ever after, and so they reshot an ending to the film which saw Seymour and, Audrey respectively seemingly living happily ever after, but then again, maybe not. There was a hint of another little Audrey's type plant, and as we find out through the course of the story, this is an alien sort of plant-like being. It feeds off of humans and remains and blood and everything like that. And so you have that sort of dark comedy already entwined in the story. But of course, it's also a musical. It's one of my top 3 all-time favorite musicals, coinciding with Grease and Singin' in the Rain. And it's one of my all-time favorite films, just flat out. The performances are gangbusters. The songs are so memorable, and I will be humming them after watching the film for the next year. And that's not like, sort of hyperbole. The songs stick with you, and that's because they're catchy, they're melodic, they're beautiful, and you always remember the performances. Seymour Krelborn, as played by Rick Moranis, which was expert casting. He's very much the timid, sort of nerdy loner. And he has big dreams. He wants to get out of poverty. Skid Row, that's one of the songs in the piece, starts out the film actually, where we get to know Audrey and Seymour and how similar they are in wanting, a grander, wider experience of the world. They don't want to just be stuck in the gutter for the rest of their lives. They have big dreams. And so it's almost bittersweet when you have the original ending, the original intent back on there, because it's not necessarily going to play out for them. And the entire sequence, there are so many sequences in the film that are just so well filmed. From its entirety, it's like eye candy from beginning to end anyway. But certain sequences, like with basically when you have the Audrey 2 plant in full form, he sings the song Big Green Mother from Outer Space or whatever it is, and he's just tearing up the flower shop. He's trying to intimidate Seymour, and it goes from almost a balancing of scales. At first Seymour brings the plant in, and the plant is very much at his control, but by the time the film is ending, it's the other way around. And it's not just Seymour on the bottom level anymore. It's the rest of the world. The fate of the world is at the beck and call of Audrey 2 and all of its sort of spawn, by the end of the film. And it is the colors of it, the cinematography of it, the shots, the music production, everything about this film is absolutely pitch perfect. And the only complaints I've ever heard from anyone have been, toward the theatrical cut for having to have changed that ending. That was the only sort of, negative comment I've ever seen about either version of the film. And I'd actually really love to hear from people who have seen the director's cut, because, as I say, it faithfully restores that original intended ending, which had all been filmed. And the film stock was basically like left in black and white. I guess they had to restore it for this particular release. But this is, again, one of my all-time favorite films. It's, hilarious. It's awesome. The music and the production just rocks out something fierce. Ellen Greene, I think she first had this role on stage and, would later appear in the film because of how well adapted she was to it. She was the personification of Audrey, this character. And as I say, Rick Moranis was pitch perfect casting in the role of Seymour Krelborn. And what I found out as of the time of this recording, in the last couple of months, 2015, Ellen Greene has actually been performing again in a stage play version of this, or at least done a couple, short performances that I've seen on YouTube video clips of, with Jake Gyllenhaal, of all people, playing Seymour in this modern equivalent. And I gotta say, from somebody who hasn't followed him at all and not really been, here or there on him as far as his acting prowess and his chops and everything like that, I instantly love the guy, because he was also a pitch perfect casting, and he sings the songs, he does the performance. It's fantastic from what I could tell. I only wish I could have been there to see it live. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't more highly recommend this film, especially being Halloween 2015, as of the time of this recording. Get on this sucker. I don't care which version you see. If you haven't ever seen this film, you got to check it out. And I would recommend that you check out both versions, just see which one, is more befitting to your own tastes. Again, I'm somebody who grew up with the theatrical ending, the happy ending, and I've always been content with that. I thought that's how it was supposed to be until I found out, no, there was actually a whole alternate ending that was filmed and was much truer to the grand designs, the grand scope of all havoc breaking loose and the world succumbing to the plant, Audrey 2. And when you see that at the tail end of this particular version, man, it's gangbusters just as well. Even though the world, its time is cut short, it's still gangbusters. So, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've ever seen Little Shop of Horrors, if it's one of your all-time favorite movies like it is for me. If not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you're not, particularly a musical fan. Maybe you just haven't gotten around to checking it out. Anything goes in the comments below. Love having the conversation with you guys. That'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.